Hi everyone. Today we are going to do the new lesson, barriers of communication. So in this lesson, we are going to uh, mainly learn about the different types of barriers that communication, and also we're going to understand the problems of ineffective communication. And finally, understand how these communication barriers can be removed. The solution for removing these barriers we are going to discuss in this chapter. Barriers means, I know communication is sometimes the relation actually process is kind of a receiving and sending information from one party to another party. It can be one to one communication, it can be one to many communication. So anyway, in between this messaging, sending and receiving thing, there can be in between this messages thing, there can be some kind of like a barriers can be there, some kind of in between this sender and receiver, there can be some kind of a some barriers to communication, some kind of a restriction, some kind of like a noise can be there in between this communication between the uh, this sender and receiver, right? So so as a result of this, we can see communication cannot be misunderstandings, and so many the problems are issues are happening as a result of that of this communication barriers. So as a result of this, you can see uh, organizations had to think about this communication barriers to removal. For example, it can be technical barriers, it can be sometimes finance, sometimes of like a communication, some skill problem. It can be regarding the problem in the media. It can be the problem in sometimes the environment, the channel that you're using, a method like that. So it can be any kind of a um, like a barrier. So we're going to find out first of all what are the barriers of in their situation. So here they're giving some good case study here. First of all, a para power co supplies electricity around 3 million users of Far Eastern country in 2015. It was heavily criticized as the media for the poor quality of customer service. And the report, which prepared by a national newspaper, revealed that the number of specific problems that thousands of customers had identified. As a result of that, what happened, it could take up to 20 minutes to get telephone call through the organization. You can see if you call someone, it will take 20 minutes. Sometimes they say waiting, and you can say so many time it will take to connection. So connection issue is a barrier of communication because customer urgent matter something you can't, if you want to quickly attend that information, you cannot do it because of it will take long time to reach to the customer service operator. 20 minutes it will take. You have to hold your line for 20 minutes. You can see imagine the bill, imagine the cost. So no one will like to call because you should be attend to the matter within 1 minute, 2 minutes like that. Emails would be often unanswered. It's no point of sending emails because no one bother to reply those emails because millions. You can see the number of people. So 3 million users mean like is a large number of market share. So you can see from 3 million daily basis customers, there can be complaints and problems can be there. So you must have this kind of a call center at least to attend those issues. And staff had a poor knowledge about the customer details and often blame computer problems for lack of information. Sometimes that's a matter of technology because technology is not up to date. Sometimes staff had a poor knowledge. That means they should train the training problem is there here. The staff, the users, they don't have an updated knowledge about the technology, and also some staff rude when talking to customers. There's another thing. There's another idea in training matter because these things can be avoided by giving a proper training to staff how to talk to a client, how to talk to the members. As a result of that, you can actually reduce the avoid the problems like this. So the first four thing you can see, it's matter of actually a problem of the senders, problem of the medium, problem of the receiver, problem of the technology can be there. So you can see some, you can get some kind of idea what kind of issues we are normally focusing on barriers of communication. So so you can see that report claimed that around 39% of the customers say they spoke when they're gathering information for the report had switched suppliers. And then spokesperson for the Parapower Corporation said we were aware of the small number of communication problems. We take customer dissatisfaction seriously and hope that find resolutions to these problems very quickly. So that's the thing. The always management want to actually have some kind of a cover story for this. So basically, they wanted to get rid of all the customer complaint. They are saying we have some kind of a resolution for these problems very quickly indeed. Okay. So that's the thing. Now, every organization, we can see this kind of problems are there. Sometimes a lot of customers they have some problems are there. We can't accept that everyone. There is no organization, perfect organization in the world like that. Everything there's a problem in communication. Now, the most important thing in these days, trending stories are all about the WhatsApp, right? The WhatsApp, there's some privacy issues are there, as a result of that, a lot of people are nowadays converting to other things such as Signal or Telegram, something like that. So there are other apps now using because of I think from before February 18th or something, you have to agree that privacy statement. So like that, so people are thinking about this the communication problem sometimes because the yeah, information sometimes they are shared without their knowledge they are sharing with their third party agencies because it's like organizations like Facebook, they have other sister companies, no? WhatsApp and Instagram. So these advertisements and everything. So sometimes yeah, privacy information sometimes they might be using. Sometimes communication is problems of communication. Sometimes privacy matters. Ne? You can see when you're chatting with someone in the WhatsApp, let's say you wanted to you're thinking of buying a new iPhone. Just a matter of example, small example. You wanted to actually buy some new phone. Then in WhatsApp you're chatting that thing. Okay, then when you go to Facebook, you can see always a pop-up advertisements coming with iPhone. That means they're tracking your information, they're censoring your information, right? For example, another example, let's say you want to find some kind of like a new real estate near Colombo or Washington DC or wherever. You are looking at an apartment to purchase. You want to settle in Colombo or you want settled in New York. You want to purchase. You're telling that you're chatting with someone you have interested to buy some apartment. When you go to Instagram, you can see or Facebook, you can see there are advertisements coming. Apartment for sale in Colombo, apartment sale in New York. How that can be happen? That means that's a privacy information they are using. So that's another issue. So a lot of it's an international thing like a kind of because using someone's privacy information, videos, photos, and chat things, this sensitive information without their knowledge, that means they are using your data, something, this kind of situation organizes is a kind of a communication problem. This kind of a like technically no the communication problems. It's a barrier to communication. Privacy errors are there. Therefore, some medium problem, there are alternative mediums are there, something like a chatting, things like now a lot of people are converting to like uh, things like apps like Signal and the other Telegram, some other alternative apps. Okay, so anyway, these are the impacts of communication problems have on power para. This case study, as a result of this above issues, they might have a huge, uh, sometimes they are losing their market share because annoying customers they might send some kind of like a bad information virally. This information will be damage your reputation of the organization. As a result, the long term there will be a huge impact is there. Financially there will be a risk like that. So these are the things like as a good brainstorming case study to find out what are the communication issues. Okay, here we go. The first communication issue today. We talk about the communication issues are normally barriers or obstacles that prevent effective communication between the sender and the receiver. That's a perfect definition of the barriers of communication. Obstacles that prevent uh, right effective communication between the sender and the receiver. There can be obstacles can be it can be background noise, it can be a technical problem, it can be a power failure, it can be sometimes language problems, sometimes the language the sender telling that can't understand some kind of like the language, written language, audio language. So these are the problems that normally happen in the communication process. Any obstacles you're finding out, that is a communication barrier. So first barrier is we're talking here the lack of clarity. Lack of clarity. If message is not clear, it may be misunderstood or ignored. Definitely, that's what happened. Message is not clear, it may be misunderstood or ignored as a result of that. Unclear communication may be the result of poor written or poorly expressed messages. If someone talking in different language, imagine if I'm conducting this class in Chinese language or in Japanese language or Korean language. I don't think none of in this class, none of you can understand this because I believe that you don't know Chinese, you don't know Mandarin, you don't know Korean, no, you don't know that foreign languages. That's the thing. That's a wrong medium if I use to communicate with you. Sometimes you can't understand. That's a problem because otherwise, that's why we are using like a English as a universal language because to communicate. Because every whatever the country, we are learning English because of that, just for the communication. It's universal language, right? It's not sometimes some countries that's their mother tongue, but English language. That's the thing. The prominence of that language is we can use that to communicate with everyone. But Chinese people communicate with English, Japanese people, Russian people, Australians, New Zealanders, Sri Lankans, Indians, everyone they know English. So whatever the country you go, you can easily actually communicate your information, the important things you can matter. So clarity is really important. It can be the pitch, it can be the voice. uh, So clarity means everything. The message, if it's a written thing, the handwriting or the type, the words and everything, vocabulary sometimes, the pronunciation, the clarity is really important, right? This important thing, like they are giving examples here. Instructions may be given to an employee that do not contain enough detail. How might a sewing machinist in clothes factory respond to an instruction that states you need to clean up your act? More information needed does. It does mean that the machinists need to work more tidily or make less miss or work more accurately to improve the personal presentation before arriving at work. So like that, so sometimes message can be not clear. There are certain examples in the history also, historical things. Sometimes the message is misinterpreted in situations sometimes. Yeah, sometimes given message was misinterpreted by someone. As a result of that, unexpected thing happened. Okay, there were so many examples there. Because of sometime because of the one small, like a punctuation mark, because of the one small exclamation marks, because of one small comma, this kind of a things can be happen, right? For example, uh, if someone actually gives some instructions, right, uh, without comma, sometimes we are reading as like a full sentence, but with the comma the sentence actually break into two pieces, right? So then there's a two different meanings coming because of one comma, a different meanings coming. You can see that is really important to understand. That is a clarity should be very very important. Accurately, we must communicate. Especially in your answers, in your writing exams. This clarity of your answer is really important. Especially the if it's your presentation of the answers, the style of writing, the handwriting, the grammar, spelling mistakes, everything actually count on the clarity matter. Whether you have get a good idea about the clarity means, clarity of the message means the whole the perfectionism of the communication method, the language, the written message, whatever, it should be perfect without any errors. You must give directly the message that you wanted to give. It must be given. And technological breakdown, we're talking second point. That's a technological breakdown of the organization. Sometimes, who knows the technology can be is a kind of a matter that actually beyond the control of the business organization. Technology can be sometimes breakdown, sometimes power failures, right? It can be island-wide power failure. What happened? Then technological breakdowns can be happen. Sometimes updates on like a virus. Sometimes technology there can be bugs can be created. See, a lot of business communication done electronically, right? Technology is a faulty. What happened? Communication may become unclear or breakdown. For example, emails cannot be sent if broadband connections are lost. If no Wi-Fi, the data is lost. Another thing. So more mobile telephone conversations can often be unclear because of the weaker signal unavailable, because there is no signal. Since the use of and the reliance on electronic communication is increasing all the time, technological breakdowns are becoming more serious issue. For example, company websites sometimes crash. There's a large volume of traffic as a result of that. This can happen when tickets go on sale for a major concert or sporting event. Right? As a result of that, the special offers are announced more recently. The website, some businesses have been taken out of the service for computer hackers like that. So computer hacking, sometimes ransomware, some different um, uh, bugs are coming on this apps. Even for Android apps, recently there was some ransomware. It's coming with the email as attachments. If you open that thing, then you take the control of the computer or the device that you're using. Technological breakdowns are happening. So you have to use the virus guard, sometimes firewalls, internal thing, password. These technological breakdowns are very common these days because everything we are doing nowadays, viral, everything we are doing online. So technology is really important. You should know the technology breakdown, sometimes connection issues, sometimes the middle of a delivery, you can see some of you actually leaving and sometimes you are joining again. That's because of the technical issues are there. Sometimes signal problems, sometimes different technical issues, sometimes computer restarting. This kind of bugs, I know everything, it's not a perfect world, right? So these barriers can be happen. And third one we are talking about it's a kind of attitude. It's kind of like a human related thing. The It's kind of a barriers and obstacles coming through the sender and the receiver. The sender and the receiver, they are human beings, because but computers also can communicate, but the poor communication skills of the sender and the receiver can be a barrier to communication. Here we go. What are the few examples of the poor communication skills? You can see in communication verbally, some people may have limited vocabulary or may not be able to make themselves understood, and they make speak very strong accent or use informal language. Customers sometimes complain that they cannot understand people when they are put to staff working on overseas call centers. This may be owing to be customers' unfamiliarity with the accent. Because some countries are very famous for this. A very good example, you can see the Indian accent. You can see they are always like R, ne? Like mother, brother, like sister, like that. So you can see like an accent was very, it little bit, we can see it's unique, the accent. You can see it's not funny, but it's unique. But sometimes that accent is not sometimes applicable for some countries. Sometimes some strong accents, for example, if it's Irish accent or a British accent, sometimes if you're talking, that accent sometimes difficult to identify because when you're that speed and the delivery of, we can say, Australian accent is different, right? And then the US accent is different. The accent, the how you pronounce something is actually that called accent. Sometimes this will be a skill sometimes, or limited vocabulary, only few words. As a result of that, the language, the method, the idea that you can communicate will be limited as a result of that. And also, some people may be poor listeners, may switch off during the communication process. I know, right? I believe you are not like that. So, poor listeners, sometimes it can be happen naturally because of the listening skills must be developed from the beginning. As a student, I'm telling this advice because in your school life, in your college life, you should develop these skills, listening skill. Because in future, you have so many lectures to learn when you go to university level, when you go to a future education level. The most important skill, one of the most important skill you must develop is the listening skill. You should listen to a lecturer. You should listen to a teacher. You should listen to a the course, the instructor, the exam, the instructions. That's why you have to get this information to your head, understanding. Otherwise, you can do the self study, but listening is really important. There are so many resources out there right now. We have internet, we have resources, we have video. So must be a good listener first of all. So that's called the learning, and then listening, and then understanding and processing, and then you again use that thing, utilize that thing in the business, in your day-to-day life. That's the important thing. Sometimes poor listening skills, as a result of that, sometimes some people, they say here, daydreamers distract themselves sometimes, né? Sometimes it can be a smartphone perhaps, sometimes during the online classes, sometimes this can be happen because of the distractions are there, noises are there. Computer games, sometimes it can be a mobile phone, right? Sometimes messages, and it can be other social media. I know a lot of people were distracted because of these activities. As a result of that, the listening skill, yeah, the connection between the lecturer, connection between the sender and the receiver lost because of that middle, there's a distraction. can be the on device, it can be the mobile phone that they are using right now, or it can be something, another device. It can be a TV, it can be the computer, a laptop, another application, because multiple apps you can use several times. Right. This can be the reason. Sometimes the distraction because the message may not properly go and like deposits into the sender and the receiver, the communication, the response feedback thing, you can see the barrier can be happen as a result of that. And third one, written messages may contain poor spelling or weak grammar. The talk that is like English problems are there, English language sometimes. Errors can make messages appear untrustworthy. Some messages might be completely ignored if they are poorly written. Example, a poorly written bid for contract may be simply deleted. Some types of written messages may be too long. If a business report too long, for example, the reader may overlook some of the important issues. So as a result, you can see written messages sometimes too long messages, like extending messages, like sometimes people sometimes they need like a short and sweet sometimes because summarize is really important because of the timing problems and everything. They don't want to actually read like long messages. As a result of that, the sometimes poor spellings, grammar mistakes. Not only that, sometimes lengthy messages also can be a barrier to communication because a lot of if you read when you're reading like a long case study or short case study, I know when you're reading a long case study, it's a little bit boring because there are a lot of information. Sometimes information overload as a result of that. If you open up your email box, if you have 400 emails receiving per day, imagine 400 emails, 4,000 emails, you will bored. So most of the emails sometimes you will be deleted without reading even because that much of information overload. Okay. Okay. Before we go to the next one, because you can see these are the communication. We talk about three things now: lack of clarity, technological breakdown, poor communication skills. Right. So before go to other things, let's move on to this small video clip, and after that we can find out what are the main uh, other problems.
After weeks vacation. She heads to her office and cringes when she turns on her computer. Her email inbox shows 400 messages waiting for her reply, as well as a bunch of voicemails. Gertrude sighs and realizes there's no escape from workplace communication. Workplace communication is the transmitting of information between one person or group and another person or group in an organization. It can include emails, text messages, voicemails, notes, etc. Workplace communication is vital to an organization's ability to be productive and operate smoothly. Number one, workplace communication improves worker productivity. Research has shown that effective lateral and workgroup communication leads to an improvement in overall company performance. It has also been discovered that employees who were graded as highest in production had received the most effective communication from their superiors. For example, Gertrude works in engineering, and her prototypes of toys receive accolades. She is an effective communicator about her designs and how they'll be played with in real life by kids. In addition, she receives specific guidance from her superiors, allowing her to create designs quickly and efficiently. Number two, workplace communication can increase employee job satisfaction. Employees feel empowered if they're able to have upward communication. This type of communication is when information flows upward in the organization and usually consists of feedback. If bosses or managers are able to listen to employees and respond, this leads to an increase in employee job satisfaction. In addition, employees are also happy if there is intense downward communication, which is information flowing down from superiors or managers to direct reports. Gertrude recently sent an email to her boss recommending that her department upgrade its design software. Her upward communication feedback was not just acknowledged but also acted upon, resulting in a very happy design team. Number three, workplace communication can also have a positive effect on absenteeism and turnover rates. Communication flow is very important to workers. Employees have to feel secure that they are receiving truthful and updated information from superiors. They also want to have the ability to share ideas, thoughts, and concerns within the company. Studies have shown that even after a layoff, companies that have excellent communication are able to retain the surviving employees. Gertrude did survive a corporate merger and was very concerned about her future with the company. Her immediate managers communicated right away that she was a huge value to the organization and would be getting a promotion within the year. This ultimately provided Gertrude with a reason to fully commit to a new organizational structure. Important disadvantages. Number one, workplace communication can lead to the snowball effect in worker actions. For example, many times when employees quit, there is a snowball effect where additional employees also quit. This usually occurs due to employees who communicate freely with each other over workplace concerns. Companies can avoid this issue if they are sensitive to worker complaints and issues. Number two, workplace communication can lead to worker burnout or information overload. While most employees are happy about the ability to communicate both upward and downward in an organization, there are limits to the amount of information that they want to receive. If employees are deluged with too many messages or repetitive information, it can hamper employee productivity. Gertrude is currently in that situation due to her extended vacation. As we just saw, workplace communication can be utilized in both positive and negative manners. Positive strategies mean utilizing communications to increase worker productivity and job satisfaction and lower absenteeism and job turnover. This can be implemented by organizations by having an open communications policy. Downward communication should be used to inform and educate employees on corporate news and events and to combat rumors and problems. Upward communication should be allowed by management so employees can ask questions, submit suggestions, and offer different points of view. In summary, workplace communication can be used to motivate employees, increase productivity, and decrease absenteeism and turnover. Employees need to feel that they are able to communicate with superiors and with coworkers. Companies need to listen to worker feedback and take action when needed. This will result in a company with excellent productivity and employee satisfaction.
Okay, right. So you find out, guys, mainly the effective communication to be take place. You should have that thing. Sometimes information overload. It can be the lack of clarity. It can be sometimes technological breakdown. Everything they have some issues with the employment, the barriers of communication. And the next one, you can see like it's another thing. Sending messages. Another thing that we are talking about the problem, the skill, lack of skill with the senders. You can see sending messages, anger, right? You're showing your emotions in the message, sometimes anger, sometimes emotions. So anger is an example of poor communication. It can act as a barrier. For example, an angry person at the end of a phone line, they may be ignored, right? Switching off the phone, you can see at the end of the some natural reaction to angry caller, like switching off like that. Or this are like that, or sometimes you are just switching off, not answering the phone. It's another bad attitude. Sometimes you're just calling and calling, keep calling, messaging, but no response at all. That's a kind of a reaction from an angry person. That's another attitude problem. Sometimes they don't want to, for example, if you want to give an urgent call, sometimes urgent information you have to give, sometimes they don't want to pick up the phone after 8 o'clock, after 7 o'clock. They don't want sometimes because of the attitude problems. The threatening messages sometimes may also act as a barrier. Sometimes people often act very negatively for threats. Example, sending a threatening message to a customer asking for payment is likely to result in a further delay. The customer may avoid paying as a response to the unpleasant messaging to have received like that. So threatening messages also should be avoided. Must give some kind of pleasant, polite way. Polite ways are there to address someone. These are the skills that you should develop in the communication. And also the use of jargon. What is a jargon? Jargon sometimes people call, sometimes using the some limited like people. So you're using, for example, accountants. You can see now using they can use them. Okay, debit that account, credit that account, realize this check, right? So or sometimes within doctors or medical terms, they can talk about the drugs and everything. Some kind of like a some like systems and everything that we have any no idea about the medicine, no idea about the anything. So if you're using some kind of like a limited kind of like a kind of a, it can be a code language, it can be kind of like a technical terms in the middle of a language. Sometimes this will be most of them will not understand what that meaning of that language. Sometimes that's why the how can we sort out how what is solution for this. You're talking to someone, when you're responding or communicating to someone, please always use more simple, more simplistic way to communicate without using jargons. right? So because if you are doing only accounting only, you can understand what is debit, what is credit. If you do economics, you know what is GDP, right? What is inflation, what is unemployment, what is globalization, what is balance of payment. The people who never, no, the normal person who actually like a person like a farmer or anyone who actually who never did economics in his life, you don't know what is meant by GDP. What is that thing? Is that a food? Is that a new kind of a recipe? Like that. So they're asking that GDP, inflation, globalization, division of labor. These are all technical words now because of that is our subject. We know that subject as a student of business and economics. We know that subject, but normally the students who are not doing that part, the outsiders in the outside world, using those terms in the normal day-to-day discussions, they don't know anything about that thing, right? If you just go and ask from just a normal person, what about the inflation in right now? You know what is inflation? Can you define what is inflation means? Like that. So they don't know what it actually they're talking. That's why when you're talking to someone, please avoid this jargon thing. It's a vocabulary that is used and understood by a people in a specific group. However, outside that group, it may be meaningless. Clearly, jargon could not be used when communicating with the people outside the group, outside the clan. So customers sometimes get frustrated when employees start to use the company, industry, or technical jargon, right? So, for example, like if I give a example, I think everyone might be know, right? If I give some kind of a code names, right? Go to M1 classroom, go to L3 classroom, go to E3 classroom, hmm? Go to Babbage lab, go to like that. So examples are there, but outsiders. I mean that the people who are watching this video sometimes you don't know what is Babbage. You know, might be the father of computer, but what is L3 stand for? What is E3 stand for? What is ECO stand for? What is ISL stand? What is this code name? These are the classroom codes, typically classroom codes that we are using. But I think most of you, right? So my students they might know, but no, normally the outsiders who are listening this somehow, if you're watching this video, you might be confused. What is the L3 stand for? Huh? What is the G3 stand for? Is that a new computer game? No, these are the code. That's called jargon. So don't, in a common conversation, in talking with public, with gather, if you like, if talking with like many people, use some kind of common thing. Don't use kind of like a thing that you and another person only knows. It will become some kind of like an inconvenient for the other person who doesn't know that thing. What you're talking about, I don't have anything. I don't know anything about this thing. You're talking a subject. I don't have any clue about that subject. Imagine, right? You are going to a gathering where two doctors are there, and then and you is few doctors, three doctors, and you don't know anything about the medicine. They're talking something about the medicine, some vaccine, and some you don't have any idea about what they're talking about, right? But if you go to a situation that if you can understand, it's very convenient for you. You know what they're talking. That's the thing. So always try to avoid jargon in normal conversation. Try to avoid jargon. Use more simple language as possible, right? And distraction sometimes. So distraction is another thing that communication always become a barrier. Communication may break down, therefore the distractions can be a background noise. It can be the factory or a construction site. Example, if you nearby for you, I know if someone nearby lives nearby to a main road, you can see the always vehicles are moving here and there. You can see, right? Can you hear noises like that? So noises are there here and there, the voices of the vehicles and the noises, the background noises, everything. And there it can be distraction for all of us. Like noise from machine may prevent the messages from being communicated effectively. This distraction may also occur if the peoples are under stress and they may be insufficiently focused on the jobs as a result. So it's a distraction is very common. Sometimes if you have been stress, there's a lot of people might be use the right. They use social media. They use always they want to right. They want to respond something because of the distractions. I think mobile phone is a major distraction these days. So everyone the distractions of everything because it distract everything. So, but mainly as a student, what my advice as a teacher I can give is never distract your education, never distract your studies, guys. So if you have identify all the distractions first of all before you study. If you have a mobile phone, Imagine nowadays, I think without mobile phone, you can't do anything because of the importance of, I know that thing. But if you want to study something, if you want to have your own study time, right, you can switch off your mobile phone, and you can keep it away, and you can switch off the TV. You can actually go to a library or some place like that without any distractions. You can see. If you go to library, what's the main rule of the library? Silence. They always actually the what they want is silence. Silence is very important in library. You can't talk. Silence is really important, very precious in library. Why? To remove the distractions. When whatever someone laughing and shouting in the library, then no one can't read a book. A lot of people want to go to library to read something silently without talking. Just they want to just focus on some subject. But because of the distractions, less of places like less of distraction. That's why you're not allowing to use anything, mobile phones, no mobile phone, no any like other electronic devices. But for educational purpose, we have to allow it now because that's a new way. The new style of education is using mobile phones and laptops for educational purposes. But those days, like couple of months ago, it was treated as a distraction. But right now, I think the lot of schools might be allowed to bring laptops and mobile phone to school premises. To they have tell to okay, go to your email, check this mail, check this document, check this past paper, check this marking scheme. That's why I think in future you have to they might allow to bring your laptops and tabs and mobile phones, and you can openly you can use that thing because that's the next level of the education. If the school opens, with this pandemic then gone and become like a normal school, I think the technology we have to allow them to use the technological devices more frequently because of this is the way that we are now communicating with you. The other one is a business culture. The business culture is another problem. Like some businesses may develop the culture for the poor communication. Like this can be quite a serious issues can occur then where there's a general lack of communication, and also communication throughout the whole organization can be a problem. Sometimes culture problem. Sometimes culture not allowing you to communicate. Some cultures are there. Sometimes some communication culture, lack of communication throughout the whole organization. Business fail to keep the employees fully informed of important events. It can lead to doubt, that uncertainty. This may result in rumors, gossip, suspicion, anger, everything. So sometimes that's why business culture is there. They're not disclosing. Always they're very close policy. They're not an open policy. So always, as a result of that, rumors, gossips, this grapevine, suspicions, everything can be there in organization. This negative and encourage mentality, negative and encourage mentality in which the staff become isolated and fail to share information with the colleagues. This is there. Some organizations they don't want staff to actually talk something to another one. They don't want it to share it to another one. They always say stick to our job, right? They don't want to share this thing. If you want to tell something, we'll share it. Some business cultures are very rigid, right? There are sometimes they say, okay, like if you want to do something, just please focus on your work. Business cultures are sometimes some business cultures are like that. Not only business cultures, even some kind of a, like some society, some ethnic cultures also like that. Especially you can see the in the lot of in the Middle East countries. I'm talking like mainly you can see the how kind of like restrictions are there for the communication and everything between the male and female. Sometimes females can't talk with the males, outsiders. I'm talking, right? They are not permitted to talk. They are not permitted to, right? I can exist that their religious thing might be, but from the religions also they restrict. It becomes kind of a barrier not to communicate with the right opposite gender, not to communicate with the outsiders, not to communicate after this time. Like that, this kind of a things. Sometimes it can be a myth, it can be a religious thing, it can be for a scientific reason, might be there. However, it's open for debate. But these are the main reasons that actually communication can be distracted. Okay, so my today's lesson I summarize again, sum up again. So business we talk about, we go from the bottom. So we talk about the business culture can be a barrier, and business the distractions can be a barrier outside the noises and everything. The communication jargon can be a barrier, so avoid jargon. Try to send something more simply. Simplicity is important, and sometimes the skills of the people. poor skills, like don't send message with an anger, don't show your anger to others, don't send a message like threatening way. So sometimes they don't like, a lot of people, I think no one likes to receive a message with threatening thing. And also the skills you can see, think about the clarity of the message, the body of the message, and technological breakdown should be avoided. You can invest on, and you can update, you can buy new technological equipment for that. Develop the communication skills. Poor communication skills should be barrier to communication. So verbal communication, written communication, the listening skills, and spelling mistakes, everything. I think there's a room for improvement. Always invest in yourself about that thing. So that is important. That's why organizations, not only that, when you're migrating in future for some countries for education, there are exams like IELTS, SAT, TOEFL, SAT. All that exams are designed to mainly they're thinking of communication skills, language skills, because they first of all find out before they give the visa, grant the visa for you. They want to find out whether are you okay, are you a good communicator or not, whether I can you come and work here without any problem. That's the main thing. So guys, so from that I'm going to wind up my session. Thank you very much for having a time. See you on next session. Have a nice day.
Thank
Bye.
you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
sir.
Sir,
Bye,
bye,
sir.
sir.